Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday morning, and as promised, I am here to talk about the Dashers. Can't say the Danville Dashers because that would refer to past teams, current team, just Dashers hockey. And there's reasons for that. We've discussed that. There is a copyright trademark restriction, and so we just go with Dashers hockey. Excuse me. All right, so we're going to take a look back so that we can look forward. All right, Danville has had professional hockey since 1981. Now, they've had hockey professionally on the pro level. Didn't start until here, 2011. They did have some amateur junior hockey as well as semi-pro. All right, so the arena is built 1980, the David S. Palmer Arena, built in 1980, a seating capacity for hockey for 2350. So, and this is in a small Midwestern town right on the Illinois-Indiana border. If you don't know where Danville is, town's about 28,000. So, it's a very small city. And so, anyway, for the majority of its existence, the Federal Hockey League, or the FPHL, has kind of set their sights on cities, smaller size like this. So, Danville's a good fit as far as those demographics go. All right, so the first team was the first iteration of Danville Dashers, and they had a much more conservative logo, very similar to the IHL's Peoria Prancers. Very, very similar. As a matter of fact, there is speculation out there that perhaps the two entities were kind of related. But at any rate, joining the Continental Hockey League, which started in 1972 and went up to 1986, semi-pro league. Danville became a part of that, won a championship in their very first year. There's not a whole lot of data and information on the Continental Hockey League. It's sketchy at best. So, you can search HockeyDB, you can search Elite Prospects, some other hockey history sites. You're not going to find a whole lot of information on the original Danville Dashers from the Continental Hockey League. So, as that league ended up falling apart and terminating back in 1986, the next move was the All-American Hockey League. And Danville changed their name to the Fighting Saints. Even borrowed and slightly adapted the logo from the WHA's Minnesota Fighting Saints. Very, very similar logo. So, at any rate, 3 years in the All-American Hockey League. All right. Now, both of these two leagues were just like anywhere from 5 to 8 teams, so smaller Midwestern circuits. All right. So after the time in the AAHL wrapped up, then for 10 years, the Danville had juniors hockey. They had the Wings, played for many years in the NAHL, and then a couple of years in the USHL. So that goes up to 2004. Then we have a pause, a couple of years where there's not hockey. The Northeastern Hockey League another semi-pro league trying to kind of gain a foothold. Was only in existence for 3 seasons. They placed a team there, the Pounders, and so you had 1 year there, and then again the NEHL falls apart. So, with the exception of the stint in juniors, Danville has been very unfortunate in that they're aligning with leagues that aren't very stable and not very well situated. So now we move up to 2011, and it's time for the Dashers. Now, this was a very curious addition at the time. This was in the second season of the FHL, Federal Hockey League. So the first season, all the teams were in and right around New York. You had the Danbury Whalers, 3 miles over the state line. So otherwise, everything was right around New York. And then, bam, you get the Danville Dashers way out there. Now, this year, 2011, there was 2 other expansion teams. There was the Vermont Wild, way up in Vermont, and there was the New Jersey Outlaws. So it was a bit of a trip to Vermont. It was a long trip to Danville, but Danville was formulated, kind of founded by Joe Pace Jr. and Sr. Sr. was the coach. And some of the names you might recognize that were involved in that first year team: Justin Barr, Ray Tremblay, of course Joe Pace, Dustin Skimmer, and Daniel Amesbury. Yeah, Amesbury's first season was with the, first season in the Fed. He was with the Danville Dashers. Of course, he was the year before with the Danbury Trashers of the UHL. Did not lead the league in penalty minutes, or the team even. He had 57 penalty minutes. He only played, I think I saw it was 12 games, something like that. Joe Pace actually led the team with 107 penalty minutes. But anyway, so that first year, that team was pretty bad, only winning 6 games out of 53. And attendance was a bit of a struggle, as you can see, 465 fans. So, you have a small arena already, and then, you're not even averaging 500 fans. This would be kind of a precursor to something that would happen later on in Danville's history. All right, so as the years pass, the team steadily improves. In 2012, they win 21 games, make it into the playoffs. 566 is the average attendance now. 2013, they go 16, 36, and 5, kind of a step back, still drawing right around 550, 600 fans per game. And then the Steve Harrison era begins. Steve Harrison comes in as coach, and immediately it's a huge boost to the team, to their performance, how well they do. And so you get to 2014. This was the first year that the Danville was pretty good. 31, 20, and 5 is the record. Their attendance is up to 763. Not great, but it's improving. And they finished 3rd during the regular season, but they ended up with a series win in the playoffs and ended up going to the finals. Lost in the finals, but did pretty well. Some of the people that were on that team, Andrew Harrison, Steve's son, had 90 points that year and 39 goals. Jonathan Giuliano, who just re-signed with the Rockers, he was on the team. AJ Tesorero, of course, now the head coach of this iteration of the Dashers. You had Justin Browson, you had Brad Denny, who are signed on as members of this year's team. You had Matt Anthony in goal, fantastic goaltender back in the day. You had Mo Levac. You had Dustin Henning. There was a pretty good core of people on that team. We get to 2015. The team is continuing to improve. They finished 33, 16, and 7. First year, they break the 1,000 mark in attendance. They averaged 1121. That year was Joe Pace leaving the Dashers to start a new team in Port Huron who would win the championship that year. So, Danville had exited the playoffs in the first round, and Port Huron ends up winning the championship in their first year. So then we go to 2016, and suddenly everything clicks. 43-9-4 is the Dashers' record on ice. The attendance peaks at 1154 per game, and they win the championship. A fantastic team defensively, only gave up 121 goals that year. Very good defensive squad, and a skilled squad too. This wasn't your typical Federal Hockey League team, gooning it up back in that time. The most anyone had in penalty minutes that year was 70. So this was a really good quality team. 2017, there's a slight downturn. Steve Harrison exits, and 2017, the team ends up finishing with a 22-29-5 record. So they took a step back. Ironically, this is also the time in which there's some real tension starting to form between the arena board and the ownership group, Barry Soskin, running day-to-day operations, Diane Short, who is once again doing the same thing now. Attendance was still over 1,000. It was 1014 that 2017 year. Then things continue to kind of slide down. 2018, they only won 19 games. Very rough year for that squad, but there were a couple players like Charlie Pence Jr. playing on the team that year. Then final year for the Dashers, 2019-2020, the COVID year, and their third place in the Western Division. This was the first year that the Fed was a 10-team league. Team was 26-18-3 when COVID shut everything down on March 12th, 2020. Some of the players in that final Dashers team, you had Nick Golo, you had Browson still, you had Sam Turner. Then he was still there. You had Scott Koash making a couple of games, an appearance for a couple of games. Joe Shepard played a game in goal. Still averaging 1,000. 1034 was the attendance in that final year. The SPHL was knocking on the door, pitching their product, and the DPS board was kind of sucked into that. Said to Soskin, we're not interested in continuing our relationship with you. We're going to go with the SPHL. Now, of course, 2021 was kind of a wash, so things got put on hold for a year. So the Dashers are done. They fade into the sunset, but a very influential team on the rest of the league. So Danville, meanwhile, gets ready for a new product, SPHL. They've got a team nearby in Peoria, another team not too far away in Quad City, another team not too far away in Evansville. So, they're thinking, all right, this is going to be good. And it didn't turn out. Obviously, in the first season, total chaos. 546-5 is the team record. 83 goals scored. They couldn't buy a goal. 267 goals allowed. That was a lot in a 56-game season. But the attendance was good. $14.92 was the average. That was the most per game that any iteration of team in Danville had. So, Danville's thinking, okay, our product on the ice isn't very good, but people are coming through the turnstiles. This is great. We're 60% capacity. So let's keep this going. And then we all know the story of the Bobcats in the 22-23 season. Total chaos. People can't be bothered with the team. They said, you know what, this team is terrible. I'm not going to pay money to go see a team that is absolutely terrible. 4-24-2, they fold on February 9th in spectacular fashion, in which the players are sitting in the locker room a couple hours before the game and said, we're not playing because we haven't been getting paid. Bye. So by the time they're getting ready to take on the Quad City Storm, the only people in the arena is a couple hundred people in the stands. A team from Quad City that just traveled for 4 hours, and one guy operating the arena. That was it. So there you go. So yeah, over 2 seasons, 970-7. Not a good product. And the DPS board, they kind of have their tails stuck between their legs. They realized we made a mistake. Made a big mistake. There was a contentious relationship with Ellen Tully, the owner of the Bobcats, and the arena board, even more contentious than what was going on between the board and Soskin. So we go through all last year. There's nothing going on. So Soskin starts kind of exploring things. He says, if they'll have me back, I'd love to go back. I'd love to build that back up again. And so finally, after several months of negotiations and back and forth, finally in late May of this year, it's agreed. Yes, we're doing this. So the Dashers are returning. So the question is, you've got a smaller arena. You're geographically isolated a bit. It's 489 miles to Topeka, the future market. It's was 370 miles, I believe, to Motor City. A little over 400 miles to Port Huron. So travel, again, is going to be a challenge for the Dashers, as it was in the first iteration. So we will see what happens. Are they going to make money? Well, the key factor in that is ticket sales. I really feel like if the Dashers are going to be successful long term, if the Dashers are to continue beyond this initial lease agreement that Soskin has with the DPS board, you've got to average pretty close to this figure. I really feel like at the very least, you've got to have 1,200 or more fans per game in order to make this financially worthwhile. So it's a big challenge. Nostalgia is there. Nostalgia is a powerful force. And so hopefully, especially in the months of October and November, the fans will turn out in droves. And hopefully they'll get turned on to this new product. And hopefully we will see success. So there we go. There is a look back and a look forward. Tesorero is currently the head coach. Diane Short, of course, is the GM. They are slowly building up the team. They have a couple of players back, like Denny and Browson. So that's really big. So we will see, if Danville can find success this year, both on the ice and off. All right. So there you go. And yes, that is a magnet. I'm now making magnets of all the teams, so you'll be seeing those on future boards. All right, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Make sure you're hitting like and subscribe. Tell a friend, and get them turned on to coverage of the FPHL with Fed League Flash. All right, thank you so much. I'm Gary Ryan, and we will catch you Tuesday, Facebook Live News and Notes.